Half a day. Let's get this started. Good evening, good morning, depending on whether you're in the Pacific or out here in the States. This is a big day. People have been working across the Pacific Islands, across the territories, across the United States to draw attention to the issue of the imposition of deep sea mining in the Pacific territories. Right to Democracy, which I co-direct along with Addie Martinez-Roman. This summer, we launched an Environment and Democracy Fellowship, and the timing couldn't have been better because this issue of deep sea mining really lies at that intersection between environmental issues on the one hand and issues of democracy and self-determination on the other. We have some of our really great fellows here today, Andra Samoa from American Samoa, Sheila Babauta from the Northern Mariana Islands. Maria Hernandez is going to be joining us a little bit later. And we're thrilled with the energy, the excitement, commitment that they've brought to this work, and that we've really seen in the community across all of these territories and even in the Caribbean and folks stateside. Honestly, in my decades working on issues in US territories, I've really never seen this kind of cohesion. Not just across territories, but even within territories. This is not a partisan issue. This is not an ideological issue. People have really come together, which is reflected by some of the leaders like Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, and we're hoping Speaker Frank Blas can also join us. So with that, we wanted to get this kicked off. I'll start off by we're going to have some little introductions. We're going to start with a roll call of all the different organizations that have been organizing comments, bringing together petitions. It's going to be a real fun to look just how many people have raised their voices on these issues. And then we're going to move into a conversation with our Environment and Democracy Fellows. And as we do all this, just kind of rules of the road, we just ask everybody to be respectful and considerate, to mind your tone and language. If you're joining on and making comments, please use your real name. And there will be time for a question and comment at the end. Feel free to put comments in the comment section too, but make sure you leave space for others as well. And handing it over to you, Angelo, to kick this off.
All right, hey, half a day. Hello, everybody. This is Angelo Villagomez. I live and work in Washington, D.C. for an organization called the Center for American Progress. I'm also the Ocean co-lead for the America the Beautiful for All Coalition. And we have been partnering with Right to Democracy for the last couple of months because we believe that the people who live in the territories should have more control over their natural resources. Imagine that. And so we partnered on the deep sea mining issue in American Samoa, bringing all 5 territories together to bring comments and to participate, and working with the community in Northern Mariana Islands and Guam this time around. I want to get straight to the roll call. Hopefully this is kind of fun. I do not trust the Trump administration to correctly add up the number of comments and petitions and letters that we are going to submit. And I guarantee you it's a lot. This is a wildly unpopular initiative that the Trump administration is trying to force on the territories in the Pacific. And we want to give a number to how large that opposition is. And so there will be, this will all get uploaded to the Federal Register tonight. And it's going to take a couple days for the government to go through that. And then they will do their own analysis. But we're going to do analysis of these letters and these comments too, because these are our voices and we're the ones who matter. So I'm going to pass the baton to Sheila Babauta with the Friends of the Mariana Trench to get us started. And I think somebody's going to pull up a screen, a share screen. There we go. Sheila, it's yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angelo. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you all for joining us today. Hafade, Tiro, Casalelia. My name is Sheila Jack Babauta. I'm from the island of Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands. I am the chair for Friends of the Mariana Trench. And I'm also the fellow with Right to Democracy, as well as the Pacific Solidarity Director. And it's so exciting. I'm so glad that we're gathering today. We at the Friends of the Mariana Trench have rallied our community to learn about deep sea mining, to create spaces where people can ask questions and share thoughts and concerns. We created a resource document. We went on several radio programs and organized public events with our partners from Micronesia Climate Change Alliance. And I'm proud to report that we have gathered 48 nonprofit organizations to sign on to our NGO letter that will be submitted today. Yay. We will keep this letter open until the end of this meeting. And so if you're an NGO that has not signed on, please reach out to us. We will drop the link in the chat, and we would greatly appreciate the solidarity and the support.
All right, so far it's working as it's supposed to. Somebody has added 48, and you can see that our running total is now up to 48. I would like to pass it over to Dr. Stephen Johnson.
Hey, Tiro and aloha, everyone. My name is Stephen Akamai Johnson. I'm the acting president and vice president of Tanotasi Zantoru, a nonprofit organization based in Guam and the CNMI. We're a team of committed scientists with decades and decades of experience of conducting terrestrial and marine research across the Mariana Islands. I also am an assistant professor at Cornell University. And our organization, TTT, we put together a letter which we encouraged other scientists and conservation professionals to sign on to, asking for more locally led leadership and expertise to be involved in a part of this really important decision-making process about what's going to take place in our waters. And I am super, super excited to say that we have 131 scientists and conservation professionals who have signed on to this letter from across the world. We have many of our own local leading experts in that number, but we also have a coalition of expertise represented from across the world. And like Sheila and Friends of the Marianas Trench, we're keeping our letter open until throughout this meeting. So please, if you consider yourself a scientist or a conservation professional, read the letter and sign on and support, advocating for our support. Thank you. Sejus Masi.
All right, thanks, Doc. Flying from Ithaca, New York, back to Saipan, I'd like to invite Kelsey Lynn McClellan from the Northern Marianas College to talk to us.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for my full government name, Angelo. I would like to just say a big thank you to everybody on the call for all of your participation in your organization. As Angelo said, it's been really fantastic to see everybody coming together on this issue. I am an associate professor over at the Northern Marianas College, and I am the program coordinator for the Natural Resource Management Program over at the Northern Marianas College. So December 3rd, we had a community conversation. The point of the conversation was to pull together local subject matter experts and just have them share their thoughts, any data and information that they have on deep sea mining. On the December 3rd event, we had 109 community members come and participate in the community conversation. And then recently last week on January 8th, the Northern Marianas College and the CNMI Green Growth and the Guam Green Growth co-hosted a community conversation that was panelists of other subject matter experts. And we're still tallying the participation on that, but I'm going to estimate around 80 participants came to the January 8th community conversation. So thank you so much, and I will pass the baton back to Angelo.
All right, baton is passed, and we're going to go down south to Guam. And I'm not going to use full government names. You called me out. Hey, Doc Austin, tell me what you got.
Good day, everybody. My name is Austin Shelton. I serve as the director of the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant. And Governor Lulian Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Joshua Tenorio of Guam invited us to help facilitate a community workshop event for creating comments for this RFI. And so on January 7th, we hosted an event at the Guam Museum and brought together about 100 people in person, plus about 400 online viewers as of today. And in person with our comment stations, we had laptops set around the place. We had at least 30 that day, and we suspect a lot more went home and filled those comments out. So thank you to the support of all of our partners. We had legal and scientific experts on the stage to share information and help inform the community on the topic.
All right, thank you, Austin. That's incredible. From Guam, we're going to fly to sunny Southern California, and Shauna is going to tell us what her organization has been doing.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm Shauna Coleman. I'm part of Southern California Pacific Islander Community Response Team. That's SoCal Pickert for short. We help communities in our area get resources, anything that they might need. And more recently, that's included information on deep sea mining and all of that that's going on. And for this letter, we were able to gather 141 community sign-ons. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. All right. From sunny Southern California to dark and dreary Washington, D.C., I'd like to invite Miriam from the National Ocean Protection Coalition. Paging Dr. Goldstein.
You know, I'm so sorry. I still can't operate Zoom, apparently, after all these years. Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Goldstein. I am with the National Ocean Protection Coalition, and we are proud supporters of this effort and just so happy to see the amazing turnout. So thank you to you all. Today, I'm here to announce the efforts of our partner organization, Oceana, who could not make it today. Earlier today, Oceana submitted 1,027 comments from around the country, and we are very grateful for their efforts. Thank you also to all of you who contributed to those efforts. And just huge congrats to everyone for all your hard work, with particular congratulations to the leaders in the CNMI and Guam. Thanks. Back to you, Angelo.
All right. Thank you, Doc Miriam. We are going to fly from Washington, D.C. To sunny Hawaii, where I think Arlo might be in an airport, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm going to go to the airport shortly after this.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Arlo Hemphill, and I am with Greenpeace USA. We're based in Washington, D.C., but we're part of the global Greenpeace network that works in 40 different countries. And we have a global Stop Deep Sea Mining campaign, trying to work on this in the international level. And much to all of our surprise, now we're having to work at the national level here in the United States. I lead the U.S. effort on deep sea mining, and we have basically put together two letters. One was just specifically from our organization, in which we did a deep dive into the legal aspects of this proposal. But then we put together a supporter letter and asked for sign-ons from our supporters. We had a little technical glitch at first getting it out, and we almost didn't. But then when the time period was extended right before the holidays, we were like, let's just get it out. We sent one letter out to our supporters asking them to sign on over the winter holidays. We did not expect a big turnout because of that being the case, but I just submitted it right before this call, and we got a total of 3,514 signatures.
Thank you, Arlo, and appreciate the people on the magic screen making those numbers just magically appear. We are going to fly back to the continental United States, and Becca from NRDC is going to tell us what her organization has done.
Yes, thank you. I'm Becca Loomis. I'm an attorney on the Oceans team at NRDC. I'm calling from New York State, and we're a national environmental advocacy and law organization. So we put together a comment letter highlighting the science, showing the huge risks to the ocean and the seabed and fish populations from deep sea mining, as well as highlighting all the things we don't know about the deep sea bed and that we need to learn before we should be disrupting this environment. We also called on BOEM to meaningfully consult with the governments and the people of CNMI and Guam, and to comply with all applicable laws and other regulatory requirements. Our letter was signed by 68 nonprofit organizations, And these organizations together represent millions of members and online activists.
Thank you, Becca. I will now pass it to Turtle Island Restoration Network, Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Purcell, and I'm the Environmental Policy Coordinator with Turtle Island Restoration Network. Like so many other amazing organizations, we were able to mobilize our members to take action on this issue. We featured this in our monthly newsletter, and we also sent an urgent call to action to our members' inboxes directly. And through these efforts, we were able to submit a total of 1,168 comments on behalf of our members. And we were also able to educate them on the environmental, economic, and societal risks associated with deep sea mining itself. As we know, this industry has become a progressing threat to our oceans and coastal communities, and we're happy to continue to stay engaged in the fight against deep sea mining alongside all of you. Thank you for allowing me to share today, and shout out to everybody who worked on this.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. We're going to pass it to Kelsey, who I think is going to report on 2 petitions, and I think we need to fix the.
Yeah, I will actually be doing 3, so sorry
3,
to
okay.
switch it up.
We'll fix this in real time. Watch, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. My name is Kelsey Lamp, and I'm the Oceans Campaign Director with Environment America. We're a nationwide group that works to protect the natural world, and so we're obviously very concerned to hear that this amazing and unique part of the ocean was at risk from deep sea mining. So we reached out to our members across the country, and I'm proud to share that we were able to gather over 12,300 comments in opposition to deep sea mining here in the Mariana Islands. And then in addition, we wanted to demonstrate the breadth of opposition to deep sea mining from within the science community. And so we were able to recruit 134 scientists onto a high-level letter from across the country, saying that deep sea mining is not the right way for our ocean and urging BOEM to conduct a thorough environmental review and a thorough scientific review. And then in addition, our partner organization, Environmental Action, which is a group founded in 1970 to create a cleaner, greener Earth, was also able to engage their members, and they will be submitting over 11,200 petition signatures in opposition to this plan.
Well, the numbers just went up a little bit. Wow, thank you very much, Kelsey. We appreciate that's amazing. We've got 2 more folks to go. Up next, we have Miranda from Earth Justice.
Thank you. Hi, all. My name is Miranda. I'm from Earth Justice's communications team, representing a group of lawyers and legislative advocates who are working on deep sea mining, including myself. Earth Justice is a US-based environmental legal advocacy organization. And in addition to the technical comments from our legal team, we used our online email and social media platforms to reach our members and supporters. And we collected comments from 24,641 supporters. And some of them were so excited they submitted multiple comments. So our total number of comments is 31,320. I don't know which number y'all want to go with. So there we go.
Let's go with a smaller number because I heard you said that there might be some duplicates. So
yeah, I think that's.
Can you say that again? It was 24. Oh,
24,641.
All right. And to bring us home, we're going to fly back to the island of Saipan, and Neil Dino Tysican is going to tell us what he's been doing.
Hafades and Tiro, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hafades and Tiro to my fellow ocean enthusiasts. My name is Nodino Taiskin, and I am from the beautiful island of Saipan. I'm also proud to stand with the grassroots nonprofit organization Friends of the Mariana Trench. Today, I speak on behalf of our organization and our incredible partners, our amazing partners, the Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, Right to Democracy, and the America the Beautiful for All Coalition. I'm truly honored to be our final speaker in today's roll call. Our collective voices are strong and they are growing. And as you can see with the numbers, these are proof. Our online petition has reached an incredible number of 5,484 signatures. Of those, 1,700 are from Guam, 1,201 are from American Samoa, and 1,192 are from the Northern Mariana Islands. With these powerful numbers, the total numbers of signatures, letters, and comments submitted by local and national organizations is at currently 60,075. A clear testament, round of applause, a clear testament to the widespread and unwavering support for protecting our oceans and our islands. Amazing job, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to all of our panelists. Yeah, as Neil says, there's still time to sign. We'll get that number up. We're going to get these all submitted today. That's 60,000 voices all across the country. And I would like to invite the Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Josh Tenorio, to come onto the screen and to talk to us for about 5 to 10 minutes on your reflections and, what's going on. Lieutenant Governor, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Angelo. And I just want to thank every single organizer that is on this convening for all the help. And, when I was thinking, this is just pretty much a taste of it, right? Because as we know from community organizing, there are many more voices out there and many more people, individuals that are like-minded with us, but either don't have the method to participate. Maybe they don't know. There's still a large number of people on all our islands that are unaware of this existential threat. This is an existential threat to our beings. Let me just say, from a bigger picture, right? I think all Pacific people and all Pacific leaders, despite our political status, understand that the sea level rise that is occurring rapidly, that is displacing islanders throughout the region, has already been something big to deal with. And now with this very violent, I would say it's a very violent proposal for deep sea mining with limited research and with limited ethical supervision or proposed ethical parameters. It really is a big threat. So the first thing I'd say is, somebody mentioned earlier that the administration, this administration in the White House, are not following what the rules are. In fact, even more troubling, in the last few days, we've learned that the United States now has withdrawn from many international organizations and convenings and agreements and there's with regards to environmental policy and collaboration, which is making the country more into a unilateral approach to all affairs. It is a big threat, which is why there has to be a lot of focus on getting congressional action. And so I know that within the diaspora of all 3 islands, there are Guamanians and Northern Mariana Islanders and American Samoans living in every single one of the 50 states that actually have voting representation in the United States Congress. And I would encourage our organizations and everyone to start focusing on providing tools and methods for our cousins and our relatives that are living throughout the 50 states and all those that love the islands. There are many non-islanders that have spent time in the islands or have an affinity that are voting in these states and in these districts. And the only way I see us from putting a big opposition and a major roadblocks is getting the Congress to act and getting congressional legislation to prohibit this very violent and radical activity that's planned in the waters off of all our islands. In Guam, I'm very happy that the elected leadership has unified in pushing out a uniformed position on this. The Mayor's Council of Guam, every single village, one of the 19 village mayors and their vice mayors have adopted a resolution in opposition of deep sea mining. The Guam legislature unanimously adopted a resolution in opposition, and now are taking other strategic actions, including verifying what is actionable in terms of statutory prohibitions on books of business that may be complementary, but may be necessary for the activity to occur. So I would say that we have to be very strategic, and our posture has to be very, very strong against what's happening. We have to utilize every single tool in our toolkit to push up against. But I would say that this is where the activity of civil society is even more important. There are spaces and there are areas that civil society can reach more efficiently, more effectively past even us in the government. And I think that that is a very, very important thing to think about. So I just wanted to say thank you. This is going to be a long road. They gave us a very limited amount of time to act in this phase, but we have to be collective and very strategic in how we go after and prevent this from occurring in the waters off our islands. It's our responsibility for as you know, for islanders especially, it's our responsibility for all the future generations, the successive generations after us. Last thing I want to say is, at least for Guam and certainly also for the Northern Mariana Islands, we're already being overburdened by by attention and by disruption to our ways of life because of national security and national defense. And the people of Guam have a unique heritage in which our freedoms have been taken away before, where 10% of our population has been lost in conflict not of our own doing. And so there is rapid militarization that is occurring on this island that is already being shouldered by our people. This additional burden, this violent, and I say it's violent based on how we understand the technology, this violent proposition that is going to cause irreparable harm and damage to our waters and to our natural resources is a big threat. And I would just say that it's a call to action, and it also is a call to unity for all of us in government and in civil society. Thank you, Angelo.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you, panelists and NGOs. Has our other speaker shown up? If not, we can roll into the panel. I think Maria, I have chats going on. I think she's close to joining us. Shall we get started, Neil? All right. We're at number 7 on the agenda. So I would like to introduce I would like to invite our panel to introduce themselves. Neil and I will moderate this panel, and we already introduced ourselves at the top. Sheila, I'd like you to go first. Can you tell me who you are, where you live, a little bit about yourself, and tell me what your special ocean place is?
Thank you, Angelo, and welcome, Maria. My name is Sheila Jack Babauta. I'm from the island of Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands. My special ocean place is Pau Pau Beach. If y'all have visited Saipan, it's on the northern part of the island. It is a calm and wonderful place for families to gather and for children to learn how to swim. That's where I learned how to swim. That's where I made my announcement when I was running for office. That's where we held a medicine walk or an omelet walk with our local and traditional healers, with Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, and when I was a fellow with the New School in New York City. And it's just a 2-minute drive from my house. I think that's also like a big reason why I grew up at Pau Pau Beach. And so it's a place where I release so much, you know, with everything that has been going on around our community for now the almost 10 years that I've been home. And as chair of Friends of the Mariana Trench, we've been committed to creating spaces for our youth to learn from our ocean elders, our traditional knowledge keepers, and Western scientists, creating spaces where they can use their hands, they can get in the water, they can learn how to swim, you know, so we have created an amazing network locally as well as internationally. And it's amazing to see the kind of impact we can make together, as we've seen earlier, right? With collecting and uplifting our voices. Now, the last 60 days have been.
Well, we're gonna get there. Let's finish with introductions first. We're gonna get there. Hey, Maria. Same questions to you. Tell me who you are, where you are right now, a little bit about yourself, and what is your favorite ocean place?
Buenas, Citos Palati, Angela. Happy day, Sheila. Happy day, everybody on the call. Anjali Maria Hernandez. I am born and raised in the island of Guahan in the Mariana Islands, and I have been a community organizer for a little over a decade now, tackling environmental, cultural justice issues here in the Marianas. I'm a mother of three, and my favorite place and my favorite sacred waters here in Guahan would have to be my family's ancestral waters, La Texan or Retidian. We have been working toward land justice efforts for more than 6 decades now. So my generation continues to carry the torch, fighting for land return here in Guahan. And it's just such a special place for us whenever we have, novenas every Christmas, or our, feast days for our different saints at the various churches. Our community goes to our oceans to fish, to provide for our families, to provide for our communities. And our oceans are essential to our cultural traditions, and just our living ancestors. And so yeah, I'm just really happy to be here today and to talk a little bit about what's been going on in Guahan around deep seabed mining.
And we are happy to have you here. Last time Maria was in town, I took her to the Cheesecake Factory. Andra, we'd like to hear a little bit about yourself. Can you tell us who you are, where you are, a little bit about yourself, and your special ocean place?
Thank you, Angelo. My name is Andra, and my last name is Samoa. I'm from American Samoa. The special secret place for me is from my own Leone Bay in the Leone village, where 1830 the missionaries came and established the Protestant church, and 1860 the Jesuits landed there and established the Catholic Church. I'm a product of the missionaries and the ministers, and also internationally have been raised by Irish American parents. And I've come back from Washington, D.C. to look after my parents. I'm a grandmother. I'm a 40-year public service. People consider me a warrior when I get to, the saying that it takes a village to raise a child, but now our genealogy connects all of us. And it's very touching over geology, ecology, biology. Our genealogy connects our U.S. territories with Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia. So it's all over the world that I want to get this out with the policy of the United States encroaching into our self-determination and our authority to take care of our environment. So that's it from American Samoa. Thank you, Angelo.
All right, thank you, Andra. All right, let's get into it. This is how this is going to work. Neil and I have a couple of questions that we're going to ask to kind of get the conversation flowing. We're hoping there's a little bit of back and forth between everybody. Feel free to chime in as you want to say something. I will note that we have a chat and we have a Q&A. And Lucy Cooper from the ABC News Australia is already asking us some very fun questions, which we will definitely get to in a moment. But I'm gonna start with Marianas, Guam, and CNMI, just because of what's happened the last 60 days. It's pretty funny. At our last Our Ocean in Peril webinar that was back in August, the panelists were asked the question, "Is this coming to the Marianas?" And we said yes, but we assumed we didn't know, but we maybe some people didn't believe us, but we said it was. So Sheila, now's the time to tell us about those last 60 days. And for some of the folks who are on the phone who might not have paid that close attention, what was it like going through that, going back to November? And Maria, I'd also love to hear how that went on Guam. So Sheila, why don't we start with you?
Thanks, Angelo. And so happy to be a part of this panel with Andra and Maria. The last 60 days have been so full. They've been really intense. In addition to the holiday season, we have had intense community engagement. There have been lots of emotions. There have been lots of questions and concerns about policy, about jurisdiction, about EEZ, about our covenant agreement, which lays out the language of our unique relationship with the United States. And today's the last day to submit public comments. Our governor and the administration here did request for an additional 120 days. And like we saw from the last extension that was granted the day of, I think there are still many people crossing their fingers for this extension to be granted, but one can only hope. We went on a Marianas tour, so partnering with Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, the Friends of the Mariana Trench have supported the Marianas tour going to Guam, Saipan, Rota, and Tinian. We live in an archipelago, and it's really important for us to reach our community on our sister islands, and that's been a lot for our organizations to not only spend the time and energy to get out there, to create the spaces and foot the expenses. There has been no support from BOEM or the federal government on conducting this community outreach. There's been town halls hosted by our local government, the administration, and our local Bureau of Environmental Quality agency, but our local government is going through austerity measures right now. So we've had to really adapt as a local government, as community organizations, to address and respond to this RFI that was not expected by anyone on the ground. No elected leaders had any idea that this was going to be announced. And because of the great work with Right to Democracy, we as fellows have been following the experience of American Samoa. So we have raised concerns and asked questions if this was something that we could be expecting in the Marianas so that we could be proactive and take some steps, but we were assured that nothing has been discussed at that federal level. And then all of a sudden in November, the announcement was released. So I think right now our community is feeling a little burnt out. At least I am. So, I've gone to the beach many times to just recover and restore our spirits. I think the most, what I'd like to emphasize the most is this not only has encouraged our community to discuss environmental issues, but it has definitely invited us to reflect on the relationship with the United States. Yeah, and I'll go ahead and hand it off to our next speaker.
Maria, just how are things on Guam?
Thank you, Sheila. I definitely, and thank you, Angelo. Yeah, I definitely resonate with a lot of what Sheila was saying about just the last 60 days being really intense. There's been a lot of community engagement. We're so grateful for our solidarity networks in the Marianas throughout the U.S. territories, because Sheila and I have been able to join forces across different groups where we wear multiple hats, both of us. And so I think what has been really troubling and just really an injustice to our communities is this comment period happening during the holidays, and even the extension happening during the holidays when, you know, people are busy. And you know, it's just people just haven't, we're not given the time and you know, the just the respect that we deserve in our communities around this comment period. And it's not accessible. It's not accessible for our communities. And so we have been trying our best on the ground to sound the alarm, holding climate cafes. Like Sheila was saying, we sent one of our board members, Amanda Dedicatoria, who is a science communicator. She's also has been on deep sea expeditions to the Mariana Trench, and you know, has a lot of extensive knowledge around deep seabed life, and was able to do outreach in all of the Marianas. And so that was one way that Sheila and I were able to join forces to try to garner comments. We had the Walk for Water, which was a 1 mile healing walk in Guahan to sound the alarm also on compounding issues around water threats in Guahan. You know, we have the firing range complex that's being built above our main water source here, where 7 million lead bullets are proposed to be shot above our aquifer. We have historical contamination, you know, more than 100 Superfund sites here in Guahan, still trying to clean, you know, and trying to encourage and urge our leaders and the federal government to clean up historical contamination. And then, you know, it's like there's so many compounding threats to our water within the region. And so, you know, on top of that, now we have deep sea bed mining being proposed. People are feeling burnt out. Like Sheila was saying, we feel, you know, like we're just a check in the box. And I think a lot of that comes from the lack of agency that we have as US territories to be able to make decisions around projects that have the potential to impact our water. And so this comment extension that has been requested, that needs to happen, it should happen. It is really an injustice to our people that it was held, especially during the holidays. And we've seen this with the military buildup where comment periods come out. We have 30 days, and, you know, it's during COVID, for example. And, you know, these projects just continue to move forward no matter what we do. And, you know, the resolutions that we passed, the 30,000 petition signatures that we garner, it's like people are feeling really overwhelmed here in Guahan. And we're just grateful for the multi-pronged effort across the government, across grassroots organizations to try to push for more comments. The comment period, as Sheila was saying, ends at 3 p.m. today. So we just need to really get that final push out and get those, try to encourage to get those encourage our community to get those comments in.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not just deep sea mining. It's also all of that other stuff happening all at the same time. Andra, it's been a while since we've heard from American Samoa in the deep sea mining. Are there any updates with what's taking place back up in American Samoa right now in regards to this topic?
Yes, there's as is, we are still at the position where our legislature, with their resolution and their letter of against deep sea mining with governor, still stands. So with the 76,000, we have not changed our position. We are also distracted with other federal policy with regards to our our Marine National Monument, Rose Atoll. And then in addition to that, we have issues with a diaspora in Alaska with NEO's efforts. But so far, I see it as the head policy person, the U.S. president, and with what Governor Tenoya has said, we also have to go through the Congress and also our diaspora all over the world with all of our sisters and brothers from the U.S. Territory. But as far as our belief in the deep sea mining, we are determined to solidify our position. That's never going to change, despite what BOEM has done with identification of the area that has expanded with regards to the irreparable harm to the environment.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the crux of it, right? You know, you had universal opposition back in August in American Samoa, and the Trump administration responded by making the area twice as large as was initially proposed, which is outrageous. And it'll probably take a few months for them to dig through all of the comments for the Marianas. But I'm going to ask one of Lucy Cooper's questions here is, you've mentioned diaspora, but what is the bargaining power of the territories in this situation? How are we going to communicate to the powers that be how we feel about this issue? And that's honestly for anyone you want to chime in.
I can go ahead and start. I think that is a great question that came up all the time at many of our public hearings, right? Like, we have heard statements that are so disempowered that people feel hopeless, that this area of interest is outside of our EEZ, it's not within our jurisdiction. And I think there are several ways we can look at it. One way is that we still are American citizens. And so this is still in the jurisdiction and under the US government that has a responsibility to keep American citizens safe and healthy. And, the public trust doctrine, it allows us to demand this of the government that we are in relationship with. And so that looks like advocating, that looks like many of the kind of activities Black, Brown, and poor communities embark on, even on the continents, right? Even when you are in the States and an extractive polluter decides to set up in your neighborhood. And so it's seeing it from that perspective, as well as supporting the great work of Right to Democracy. The more we come together as US territories, the more we can show the kind of power that we hold, and make our voices known. The US at this time is investing billions and billions of dollars in the US territories, especially around national security, around defense. And this is the time for us to become very clear on the type of relationship that we have, the type of language that protects us from our covenant, from our CNMI local constitution, that we have these avenues. For example, here in the Northern Marianas, the 902 talks. And that gives us a seat and a space with the administration to have direct conversation about the issues that impact us and some solutions moving forward. But I think in the end, solidarity between and among the territories with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, we are voting citizens and residents in the diaspora as well. and reaching the representatives in those areas. The whole system is frustrating and can feel very broken at times, but coming together and advocating as one united front, I think will make the biggest difference. And we see that happening now in US Congress with the development of the caucus, the US Territories Caucus that just formed. So there are avenues that are also opening up for us to utilize. It's just a matter of using them. Maria or Andra, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I do see my sister Sabrina chat. Hi Sabrina, if you're listening in, that informing us that BOEM is going to be paying a visit to American Samoa, a second visit next week. I'm just gonna come out of my heart and tell all of you the truth. We can be advocating, we can unite and stand up, divided we fall, united we stand. But back in 2016, the federal government did us irreparable damage to coming into our 12-mile LVPA. How long are we going to be advocating and standing up against the executive government? We took the federal government to court. American Samoa did in 2016. We won over on the local side in the district here in Hawaii, but appeals court changed the position. Supreme Court didn't even want to take this case up. And I can see the pathway. It's a recurring again. We are going to take the time to be strategic. But for me, it's never going to get anywhere because the executive, the head policy person is not going to listen to us. Bowen is not going to listen to us. They went and expanded the EEZ. So what I want to do, and just to let all of you know, take the federal government to court to stop this because they're not going to stop. And that's how I see where the deep sea mining is going to really overburden and stress us big time. So that's how I feel right now. And just my own heart, down to earth recommendation that it's going to happen, that we can, as long as we have united, we need to find a way to go to court. That's from Andrew Samoa in American Samoa.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not a panelist, but I guess I'll add is, we're going to fight this in the public comment sections. We're going to fight this with narrative, with the popularity in with the American people. We've seen this administration walk away from things that are unpopular. A year ago, everything was Doge and Elon Musk. That was incredibly unpopular with the American people, and they just slowly walked away from it. They've done the same with some of our public lands. There were discussions to sell our public lands, and the people rose up and, they walked back some of those plans. And so, yeah, we'll fight you in the courts. Hopefully eventually we will fight you at the polls. But, we will take the fight to where the fight is, because this is important to us.
And I'd just add on to that, or go ahead, Maria. Go ahead, Maria.
Go ahead, Neil. Go ahead.
Oh, what I was gonna say is, I always like to hear take them to court. I'm a lawyer. We'll be talking with folks, figuring out ways to do that. It's not just domestic courts, though. There are also important issues of international law that this raises about self-determination, mineral and resource extraction. So those are things that we're going to be exploring. And then also to understand that having the relationship structured this way is not inevitable. Something else in the news a lot these days, Greenland. Greenland has a very different relationship with Denmark than the United States has with its territories. In Greenland, Denmark has agreed to provide control over their mineral resources to the people of Greenland. So when it comes to mineral or resource extraction in Greenland, that is not a question for the Prime Minister of Denmark or the Parliament in Denmark. That's a question for the people of Greenland to answer themselves. And then they get the benefit. They can weigh the risks associated with those activities versus the benefits that they might receive from them, and through their own political process, reach a decision on that. And so this is not an inevitability that this is the way things has to go. This is the way the United States has structured it and how they're proceeding. They could let the people of Guam and the Marianas decide this question. They have decided not to do that. And we need to hold them to account in our local communities. We're going to be working to raise people's voices in Washington, D.C. over the coming weeks and months. There may be an upcoming legislative hearing on this issue. Partnering with the Territorial Caucus that has formed is another opportunity in Congress. And then also looking to things like the National Governors Association with these very outspoken governors in Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. So our voices are stronger together, and we look forward to continuing to support the communities to show what power they actually do have on these kinds of issues. Angela is going to go ahead and move on to one of our next questions, unless you want to jump in. One of the other really kind of shocking things that has come out over these last few months was that the CEO of one of these mining companies was quoted as saying, quote, "My understanding is that the intangible cultural connections have died down because most of the specific communities are Christian. And so these are beliefs that really predate Christian activities. And so as the communities there adopted Christianity, some of the historic spiritual connections have diminished." So I found this very offensive, and I think all the people I know in Guam and the Marianas did as well. Would love to hear from you, Sheila and Andrew in particular, but Maria, I'd also love to hear your comments. What was your reaction to these kind of comments, and how have you seen, just even in the last few months, cultural and other expressions around these issues, and how this is not just an environmental threat, this is a threat to culture and identity as well?
Yeah, I can start. I did hear about that quote. I did hear him say that. And, the first thing I thought was that is a reflection of his mindset. That is a deep reflection of his lack of engagement with Indigenous communities, with his own trauma and perspective on the land and the environment around us. That journey of re-indigenizing, of decolonizing, this whole process of community engagement has exposed a lot of the mindsets that exist in our community. And I am really grateful for the time that we got to spend with our community members so that we could hear from them and we could see and hear the fears around economic stability, around environmental impact, and the future of our children, and what kind of ancestors do we want to be. Colonization has impacted us in very deep ways, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, culturally, and we are doing the work to heal from that. Deep sea mining is disrupting that, and is disrupting the healing process that we as Indigenous communities are so committed to, whether that's bringing back the language, relearning ceremony, connecting to legends and stories that are not war related, that are not just in our recent history, but information and ways of knowing and being from pre-contact, right? And so his words were violent and offensive to many. But, it's not something that's new on this journey of decolonization and re-indigenizing as I've experienced in the past years. So it is something to be expected that a colonizer mindset with a capitalist approach to life will say something like that publicly and think it's okay. It's not a reflection of our community. Our community is still very deeply connected to the ocean. Just here alone on the island of Saipan, we have master navigators. We have master canoe carvers. We have master weavers who still practice and teach our culture, who still pass on this sacred knowledge to our youth and to community members. Our government, our local government has the Indigenous Affairs Office and our Carolinian Affairs Office, and these programs that help connect community members to Indigenous knowledge, to traditional healers. And so even at the government local level, we are taking the steps to reconnect with identity, to pass on knowledge, to ensure that our community knows our culture. And it is a very challenging environment to be in when, we've had this relationship with the United States for almost 50 years now, influencing our way of life and introducing values that sometimes don't fit with an island Pacific viewpoint. And so I just want to encourage our community here to continue practicing our culture, continue staying connected to our environment, going out into the ocean, staying connected to our family members and our knowledge keepers. And when things like that are being said, it just opens up a great space for discussion. Yeah, Maria or Andra?
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, I will say that it's definitely not something new that we hear here in Guahan around our sacred sites, around our sacred waters, especially as somebody who has responded to, I've been in groups where, for example, representatives from various military projects will come out and say, well, this land is not sacred, like verbatim, this land is not sacred because it's been previously developed, for example. And so we have these people who are not from here, these companies that are not from here coming to our land, telling us what is and what is not sacred. And that is not okay. To suggest that our Indigenous spiritual and cultural connections have died down is a colonial assumption. And it treats culture as something that is fragile or disposable. And, the ocean is not something, our connection to the ocean is not something that has faded with time. I just did work around water advocacy in 2022 through 2023, talking to our traditional medicine healers, for example. The ocean is very necessary to perpetuate our millennial-old traditional medicine practices where our healers take our people into the ocean. This is part of our cultural tradition in order to heal ailments. And we need our water to be pristine in order to continue these practices. So that is one way that the ocean, is something that we still carry with us. It's our connection has not faded, and our future depends on us as a community standing for our ocean. And that's why a lot of the work that Micronesia Climate Change Alliance has done really is to connect people to our lands and waters through ceremony. We do things in a community-centered way. We center healing, and we center just relationship building, narrative work. We do artivism. We engage people through art. because the stronger that we are as a community, the harder it is for them to divide us. So yeah, that is definitely insulting to hear, but it's not something that is new to to us. And it just, if anything, it makes us work harder to combat those narratives.
Yeah, just to be on the when this is the first time, Neil, that I've heard this. I assume it's from the Impossible Metal the company representative. But like I say, the colonials came and they divided us. Divide and conquer is what I see. I'm just asking, maybe this guy was over at the insurrection back in a few years ago at the Capitol or uh, c- Congress, but the attitude is real because we have disrupted the plan of these profit commercial. There's nothing wrong with seeking out on the capitalism, but with our culture is a living culture, the Samoan way of life, Chamorro way of life, Northern Marianas, even the Indian way of life. Those are all cultures that make us who we are, and it's awakening people like myself, Sabrina. We have some warriors here in American Samoa, and we're doing the outreach to our children, to the high schools, to the elementary. Sabrina is taking her organizations out to the ocean, to the beaches, cleaning up. And this is where we are making an impact, because we're not going to be around 20, 30 years, but they can continue the legacy and the fight. And with this kind of a saying, it's just a part of their strategic to divide and conquer and weaken us. But to me, it's making me more strong in terms of seeking out the diaspora to share our stories with so many other cultures, because who knows, they're going to go from Guam, CNMI, to Tokelau, to the Cooks, trying to divide and conquer us to go against each other. So that's how I feel.
All right, thank you. So we promised folks that we would talk about what comes next. And I just want to note we've been here for 70 minutes now, so we're coming to the final questions. And so when Neil and Addie set up Right to Democracy, one of the purposes was to lift the collective voices of all the people living in the U.S. territories. Right, we're gonna do this together. How can we, the people on this call, the people living on the islands, how can we continue to work on these issues together? And, based on the things that have happened in the last 6 months, what are some of the actions and activities that you want to see continue? And is there anything that you wouldn't do again? And Maria, why don't you go first?
I think that just our recent visit to DC with the Environment and Democracy Fellows with Right to Democracy, meeting with the Natural Resources Committee, I can see that as one potential way to uplift our voices in the territories around deep seabed mining. I guess before that trip, I didn't realize that was an avenue that really any person, any group can take, is just setting up those meetings with congressional leaders in fly-ins. Angelo introduced me to what fly-ins are, and I feel like
those
that's
guys work
something
for
that
you,
we
Maria.
can.
They all work for you.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to remind ourselves of that for sure. And I think that could be an avenue that we can continue to do, and we will do, as a cross-territorial coalition. and yeah, just continued solidarity building. I think artivism is extremely powerful. We just had our Tanai Anamu Sacred Waters art exhibit in Guahan and featured 35 uh, or 35 plus artists from across the Mariana Islands and flew-in artists from the Northern Mariana Islands, and and that was so powerful. We got a big QR code to the comment to the Federal Register up on the wall with a call to action and just the information about how the deep seabed mining area in the Marianas, the size of it is 3 times the size of all the Hawaiian Islands combined, and just really giving people that visual as they walk through the exhibit space. So yeah, artivism is so important to continue to push the fact that we do not have consent and we do not have agency as territories. The United Nations has come out and said that we lack the free, prior, and informed consent needed around various projects that impact our lands and waters here. I do, the last thing that I'll share around artivism is that our environment and democracy fellows in all the U.S. territories sent their waters here to Guahan, and we have a installation, Sacred Waters across the U.S. territories. And all of our waters are displayed there at the Guam Museum until February 28th with just a narrative that we all created around the lack of agency, the lack of consent that we have in the territory. So artivism is something that I think we'll continue to do to raise awareness. And so yeah, definitely community-led efforts, and then also hopefully through litigation, and then hopefully further fly-ins to DC to speak with congressional leaders.
Sheila, anything you wouldn't do or would do again?
Thanks, Angelo. Yeah, thanks, Maria. Well, I would continue supporting the work on the ground, right to democracy. If you're in one of the territories, find the organizations that align with your values and continue to uplift the work to spread the impact. So supporting organizations that are already doing the work, supporting, the leaders who are aligned with your values, that have this vision we hold for our territories, for our homes. One thing I would not do is to sit in anger and to hold a lot of that heaviness. I try not to do that this time around. This is not the first comment period that we've had to rally around. It's not the first comment period that's super emotional and where we feel powerless. And so I made sure to really take care of myself, because when we take care of ourselves, then the people around us, the people that we lead, the people that we influence, will also feel that energy of what we're trying to get done, to continue to remind ourselves why we're fighting, right? Spending time with our families, with our youth, with our elders, spending time in the ocean, going for hikes, just taking care of yourself is what I would highly, highly recommend as we continue this fight. And really acknowledging the small wins. I mean, this is a marathon, and today might be the deadline, but it is not the last and final step, right? For many of us doing this work. And so acknowledging the small wins that will keep us motivated to continue the work, because we need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to pressure our elected officials to take a stance and to represent us in the ways that we feel are responsible, and so pushing for that is important. But I also, just on a final note, want to say how impactful it is to stay surrounded by the community that that forms around issues like this, that forms around issues like territorial issues or deep sea mining issues, environmental or political issues. Staying surrounded by those like-minded, passionate individuals who are putting in the work, who make you feel seen and heard, who uplift your voice and value your stories. Like, that's really important for us to continue simply, because burnout is real. You know, we've seen strong leaders burn out. We've seen organizations become silent, you know, and we are more than happy to care for one another. I think caring for one another is really important during campaigns like this, during movements like this, because it's intense for a short period of time. And then after this comment period, for us to really take some time for ourselves and our families.
And we're celebrating a win today. We had 60,000 comments. That was an incredible effort from across the islands, and it's probably at least 60,000 comments, because I know some folks weren't able to make the call and share the sorts of things that we have done. Andrea, I'll just ask the same question for you. Or is there things that you would like to continue to do in this effort?
Well, foremost, I really do confirm the importance of taking care of ourselves, because in the long run, the future generation needs role models that are fearless and also seek out surrounding subject matter experts, those who on the federal government, because I know I have friends at the EPA that are among our strong supporters and provide a lot of comments and advice on how to go about getting to counter the federal policy, even though that they have circumvented their own policy that they bring to us as the colonial subject to follow, the coastal management program, the federal consistency, and yet the way that they're going about the deep sea mining is just contradicting their own policy. So understanding that with our legislature, we have to connect with strengthening our laws so that we can follow and show to the federal government that this is self-determination. We've seeked out to protect our land and our ocean. So I will continue to work with warriors and, people like Sabrina. We have people here that are pushing the fight to protect our lands and oceans. So the youth for me is very important, and also to gather these kinds of curriculum in our narratives and our stories so that, it doesn't get counter and circumvented by the colonial powers just to, drive down our throat and being. So that's something that I continue to work on as a role model here on protecting the environment, because everything is interconnected with our health too. And that's why it's really important for us also to look at that side of health and the environment and people and our land and ocean.
That's wonderful. Any other final words before we wrap up? Well, this has been tremendous, bringing everyone together across the Pacific, across the territories, folks across the United States and even internationally. Such powerful words from our Right to Democracy, Environment, and Democracy Fellows. Still a few hours left to engage, share, the petition, share the comment page to your friends, and let's continue this push forward to what I really think is the starting line. This isn't the finish line later today. It's really the starting line. We're just getting started, and together we're powerful beyond our imagination. So with that, let's close, and we'll look forward to continue to push forward on all of this together.